I want to share this with you guys. I've not shared with anybody, but speaking of that, it kind of made me think. So my aunt is so brave to me. But she could probably use prayer in this aspect. So my cousin, um, he's gay, and my aunt is Southern Baptist, and he will tell you that I'm a gay Baptist Republican.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, she's just never been able to get past it. So like he is a sinner and she just can't forgive. She can't forgive and forget or let go. But anyway, they've had several years of no discussion, no contact with each other, even like taking each other to court. And there's been some battles there. But anyway, I called her the other day for her birthday and I was like, hey, I was just calling to see how you're doing, And she said, well, I'm actually in New Orleans. And I was like, did he know you were coming? And she said, nope, I just showed up.
Oh,
And
wow.
said, she
Yeah.
said, I'm hoping to get him to get out and go walking because he had had some issues. So anyway, how brave for a 79-year-old woman to
Wow.
have 6 hours to go see her son. And so anyway, it's just, there's something there. There's going to be a change there. I don't know what God has planned, but, it'll be interesting to see. But I've not, like I don't know people that are very open about these topics. It's just not something that we talk about. But there's a difference, like when you share with somebody, knowing that you actually, you understand the dynamics of all that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I was just like, how brave of you.
That is. I mean, just to make that journey
Yep.
by yourself at that age is super brave.
Mm-hmm.
I know. She's like, I'm gonna go see my child. But anyway, so she's not shared though what the outcome is. But
Well, I pray for both of them that it's a good outcome and
I
that
do.
they can,
Mm-hmm.
if nothing else, find peace with one another.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're taught to love the sinner, hate the sin. But yeah, that's actually a really good story, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
It's touched me. I think the part that she stepped out beyond what I know that any of her family would have been okay with her doing. Just and knowing who she is and how she is just no, no, no. And I've even told her, no, what if I did? I mean, do you forgive me? And so we've had these hard discussions about it. But anyway, so yeah, it's just a huge thing.
What if you did what though?
I've asked her, I've been like, what if let's say if I stole or if I lied, to you and, like, would you forgive me? Because a sin is a sin. It's not so much about what he's doing. That's between him and Jesus, but this is more about your love for him. We all make choices.
I can agree with that, but I also would struggle with affirming that behavior, right? Like as a Christian woman who's dedicated to Jesus and living a very Christ-like life as best to her ability. I've listened to several podcasts around this, especially when it comes to our children. It can be really hard to show acceptance without showing affirmation because we're taught not to affirm that behavior because it's sinful. With my own child who tried to convince me at one point that she was bisexual or whatever, she knew that I didn't affirm the behavior. And so for us, it was just, we don't talk about it. That was that was our way around it. We just didn't talk about it. But I don't know. How do you deal with it, Sherry?
I don't really talk about it with her either. I mean, I try to have a relationship with her. I try to show her that I love her. That because that is, what Jesus would do. Jesus, like you said, would love, but not condone. Yeah. And, it is hard. It's very hard,
It is.
So.
I think the part of it is there's, in my mind, like there is something that we all do, regardless what that is. And I can't relate in that way just because I've never lived it personally other than like from family and from afar. But I think of it like with an addiction or, like how I saw my children when they were in a space that they shouldn't be in, it was almost like you could see the hidden, you could see that wall, you could feel it. And I think, I mean, I was the same way, when I was a child growing up with things I did, heck, even now. Um, but when you're, I know, like with the boys, it was almost like I trying to think of how to even say it. You probably even know what I'm talking about. Like there was just this hidden thing of what they were doing was wrong and they knew it and I knew it, but we couldn't really talk about it every day, but it was there and it drove her home. It was the dividing of everything, even though it was just there. And so now looking back after Zach's accident, it was almost like I had to figure out I was either going to lose my child or I had to learn to love him just as he was. And just to finally realize that I had no control of how he was, but to not be okay with it, but to love him the best I could as a mom, knowing that Jesus had everything else taken care of, like what was going to come from it. I don't know if what I'm trying to say makes sense, but you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying, but I also, I think it's really important that we remember that you're right. Sin is sin. It doesn't matter if you're telling a little white lie or you're engaging in homosexual activity. A sin is a sin, and there's no real variation of what's a bigger sin than a smaller sin, even though we as humans will qualify something being worse than something else.
Yeah.
But I think that there's this terrible misconception that Jesus walked the earth preaching that he loved everybody, and that's not really what he preached. He preached, follow me or go to hell. And so there are commandments that we are supposed to follow in order to not go to hell. And that's the hardest part when you know that your child, because I have to deal with my own child, when you know that your child is living a life that will send them to hell. And so what's easier, it might not be the solution that the family looks at as being the best solution, or maybe it is, but sometimes it's easier to not engage in order to not show the affirmation. And I mean, I went to Southern Baptist churches my entire childhood, and I know how that can be. I know how rigid that faith can be. Or religion, I guess is a better word to put it. But having grown up that way, I can understand how your aunt feels and how she's struggled for all these years of how do you have a relationship with someone that you vehemently and fundamentally disagree with their lifestyle so much, even though it's your own child. So it was a very brave step, and I pray that God moved through both of them while she was visiting him.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it just reminds me too that they have free will. We all have free will, and it makes me very sad that I may not see her on the other side. I may not see any of my children on the other side, and that's really very sad. And it's the same way as being a coach. I can't drag them. I can't make them. They have to want to. And, Jesus also reminded me at Christmas time, because I was struggling with some things. And he said, you know what? I'm the judge. You're not the judge. I'm the judge.
Yeah.
So I'm here to love her and show her the love of Jesus. And, act that out. And so that, you know what, those Christian people aren't as crazy as we make them out to be, right?
Yeah.
They're not. They're people, they're not hateful, they're not judgmental, they're loving.
Sure.
And they can't
supposed to be.
They can't come back at that.
It's been interesting since I started following, since I became what I believe is a Christ follower and not just a believer. I think there's a big difference between the two, which I've talked about before. My daughter has seen a vast difference in me. And she just went through a really bad breakup, and she's jobless and was about to lose her power and had all these things that were piling up on her. And I've just been praying and praying and praying. And I've been praying for intercessory for years, trying to, for God's light to shine in her again. Cause I've shared with you guys her occult stuff that she's been mixed up in. And so with everything that's happening, yesterday was this beautiful day of prayers answered the whole day. It was like everything that child wanted happened for her. And it just, people were so nice and so kind to her, and she really got to see that, but she got to see it from me too. And she's been seeing it from me. Like I'm not argumentative with her, and I just really express my faith when we have the opportunity to talk about it. And so yesterday I said, all my prayers are being answered for you right now. And I need you to understand that, like, this is God working in your life. He's faithful. And today she asked me if it was okay to pray for something specific.
Mm.
And she asked for me to pray for her. Now, I'm sure there's a part of me that knows there's selfishness behind that, because things went so well for her yesterday. And she's like, man, if mom's God is this faithful, maybe maybe she can pray now and I'll get a job before the end of the week, which I am going to pray for her. And I'm asking everybody, or you guys anyway, because this won't go out before the end of the week. I'm asking you guys to pray it for her too, because I would love for God to show up and just keep doing all these things where her faith shifts and she's, I mean, yeah, it was just, but she just keeps thanking me for being there for her and accepting all of her mistakes. And, she gets to see what unconditional love as a parent looks like. She didn't get to see that always. I was very combative with her, because we pretty much grew up together. And I get to be a mom, like a real mom now, which is so cool, and get to show her and teach her from a perspective of faith. And I just, if I can see that twinkle, that light go on, it would be that miracle I've been looking for. So I do believe that we get to, as parents, show that level of faith and how good God is. But it is up to them, right? My daughter could, make this move back to Colorado and get mixed up with the same crowd and go right back down the path she was down. But I pray that that's not what happens.
Yeah. I think that's the cool part though about the story, is it's not so much how they, how they were in the beginning with their relationship. I think it's just the miracles of what God has done, like today in their relationship, like it was so broken, but yet a mom to have such strength to say, this is my child. And, regardless of those things, I want to love. And I think that's the part where a lot of times we mess up, is like we have that judgment of what the word says. And even though we can say it's here in the Bible, it says, do not commit adultery, or do not, have these types of relationships. But I feel like I just want to love and say, I can share that with you and just really love you. And I think that's where a lot of people see God, is through that love and loving the person and not the sin. And I think that's something I really want to try to do better, is to love the person and not the sin, because I, I just feel like there's a place for that and especially right now in the world.
I agree on one level, but I disagree on another level, because Romans very clearly says we're not supposed to hang out with those people, right? So I don't spend a lot of time with my daughter because I'm not supposed to. She knows God and she stepped away. And that the Bible is very clear about that. And I believe the Bible is the living word of God. So I don't spend time with her in person, but I love her.
I don't know. I think that there were places in the Bible where God did not hang out with, he hung out with the sinners and the people in the jails and the people that, they did
But God
things.
was infallible, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he was perfect. We are not. I know. I totally get where you're coming from. I've lived my life that way for a long time, just wanting to be in that headspace of love. But the more I study that Bible, the more I want to make sure I go to heaven. So
Oh,
I
girl,
follow
don't
that Bible.
misunderstand now. Don't misunderstand. I want to be there. And don't misunderstand. I'm not saying I'm going to put myself in places that I don't necessarily need to be. Now, sometimes I do. I mean, because
Well, we all
I'm a
do.
sinner with all of them.
Yeah.
But I think where I'm coming from is I've spent, and have talked to people and have, I mean, there are people that will just worry and rant over another person's life and what they're doing and how they're living it. And I think it's just my place to just pray for them
Mhm.
and to be a witness and to be a light and to just move forward.
Now that
I
I
think
agree
that's,
100%.
because I can't, if you come to my house, I can't be a nagger and just nag you to death about what you're doing. But what I can do is say, like I've told my son, I don't agree with what you're doing. And there'll be things that I'm your mama. And so when you do something wrong, I'm going to tell you. And what I need you to do is to listen to what I have to say and let me get it out. And you're a grown man, you're going to do what you want to do. But as a mama, I need to get it off my heart and I'm going to need to share. And so
Mhm.
that's just what we've agreed to do. But he knows where I stand. But then I'm going to invite him over for Sunday dinner and cook for him and love on him and pray for him and say, I love you. But that's just me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm.
And I'm not saying I would never do
And
that with my daughter.
Yeah.
I don't get to spend much time either proximity wise with my daughter either, because she's up in New York, so it doesn't make it for being able to, and we chat here and there on texting. But I do wonder with your aunt too, with her age and everything, and I think it's amazing that she drove all that way. But I think God was also working on her heart
Absolutely.
to say, you know what, you may not have a lot of time with your son,
Mhm.
and so forgiveness
Absolutely.
and not forgiving him for what he's doing, but just asking for forgiveness for her heart and spending time with him
Yeah.
while she has that, because it's like you may never have that chance again.
Right.
You never know when that is, right? I know.
Mhm. I mean, that's why I'm so there for her now. I don't want her to ever feel like I've abandoned her.
Right. And it's important. It's like I have no regrets.
Yeah. People are going to live their life no matter what. I mean,
Right about that.
be a witness.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I was be a witness.
Yep. I keep seeing this thing on Instagram, and I see it on so many different people's channels, and it's the 5 things that people think Jesus did say and what he actually said. And it does. It's a lot of the whole, love, love, love. I wish I could find it. I gotta find it. When I find it, we'll put a link in for it, because it is one of them is follow your heart. Jesus never said that. He said, follow me.
That's a good one.
Because that's what you hear a lot, especially with the new age stuff, is follow your heart, follow your heart. So I'll be right
Thinking
back.
while you're saying that, it makes me think of the one of everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Generational, I mean, I hear what you're saying, because I think that we're put in generational places and I mean, things happen. And I agree. I don't think Jesus loves everything and everybody, and I don't think it's just love, love, love. I think it's more so, I mean, you pay for your actions, and there's a cause and effect to everything that you do, whether it's you specifically, or whether it's to your children or to their children, because of the way that it causes you to change, and that's from the sin itself, about how it can change just our bitterness and our attitude, that's outwardly to other people. And that's a generational effect. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the way that you find the peace and love is through Jesus, and giving him your worries and your woes and your burdens, and understanding that, we can't carry that load. It's just not our load to bear. It's more so our load to acknowledge of what we're doing and have those conversations with him, and then to acknowledge where other people are and pray for them and to give that load to him as well.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference too in like socializing and interacting and hanging out and every day in versus, being a part of somebody's life and an open door or a welcome conversation,
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. I do. Okay, I found it. So here's a few of them anyway. I'm sure there's a lot more. But the big ones that are the self-help things that people try to tack on to Jesus in the Bible today. So one is believe in yourself, and he did not say that. He said believe in me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. The other one is follow your heart. He did not say that. He said follow me, which I'd already said that one. The other one was be true to yourself. And he did not say that. He said, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Live your truth. He said, I am the truth.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you are happy, he said, these things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full. So that's the ones that I've seen floating around on social media a lot. Those in particular. And I just think that it's important, we live in such a self-help, selfish world right now where it's just all about how can I get more for me? What can I do to fix me? How do I fix me? And there's so many self-help books out there from non-pastors and pastors, and all we got to do is get in the Bible. Just need to read the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think says it clear. I think it's Thessalonians, and it's encourage one another and build them up. Build them up and not have all the jealousy, but more so pick up with their, with celebration. Just, encourage each other, build us up.
Mm.
That was an unintentional rabbit hole.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good topic. It's a really good topic because I believe that we live in a soft Christian world where Christians think that they just need to do good things and be good people and they can get to heaven. And that's not the truth. It's not. And the more conversations we have like this, hopefully the more people wake up.
Yeah. It's relationship is what I believe. And I believe that everybody's relationship with Jesus is different. But when you have that relationship with him. And that I feel like is when you find the individuality with your belief and your understanding of the Bible. And so many people are in different places. There's baby steps and there's people that are well versed in it. And I think that's where, listening to other people and finding coaches and leaders that, and listening to people, like you said, this Charlie Kirk, just going out, and the more you hear and the more you learn. But I don't know. I think that's where the wisdom comes from.
Mm.
I love it and want to soak more in as far as that goes, but we're so different in where we are. It's so different. And I think people have this set way of how it is. And I think it's just different for all of us.
Well, I think the journey is definitely different in the way we get there, but there's only one way.
There's only one God and there's only one heaven. But as far as the relationship, and it's totally different for everybody.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a cookie cutter, it's not cookie cutter as what we see. So much bigger than that.
God didn't create cookie cutter people.
No.
That's right. That's right.
No.
Thankfully. Could you imagine, like, one day I was going down, I was driving and I was like, sometimes you're like, what if, and everybody was the same. And I was like, could you imagine 100 of me? Like, it would be awful. That's when I was like, I'm so glad people are different. Like, I could not even imagine.
I feel the same about me. I would feel sorry for all the people that had to be around me.
See,
Mm-hmm.
like I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine like everybody liking the same thing? It would just be so weird.
Well, that's what
Or
our lovely world is trying to gear us toward. Think about it.
Oh, think
True.
about it. How weird would that be? Like, no, this individuality is good.
Yeah. Although I will say,
First
so
to think for
because you've
ourselves.
said that, I just saw a statistic this afternoon. You know, we went from before this huge push for LGBT, and this I would assume that your cousin has been out for quite some time. But before this huge push for LGBT, you know, the statistic was less than 1% of the population recognize themselves as gay.
Mm.
Today, I saw a statistic that 30% of women classify themselves as LGBTQ. 30%.
Mhm.
This is the shift that's happening, right? This is the what's good
Question.
is bad and what's bad is good, huh?
Yeah, it's putting the big question mark in people's heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah. I was actually listening to an interesting conversation between my pastor and Seth Gruber, who is an anti-abortion. He's got this website, which I'd never even looked at before. I still need to go look at it, called White Rose. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, they were talking about the return of Ishtar and Moloch and what we're seeing right now with all of the, you know, transgenderism and the babies being killed and the IVF clinics and all the stuff that's happening now, and the just sacrifice basically, right? And so they talked about how when there aren't any, they talked about the orgies being what creates the babies that aren't wanted, and then they're sacrificed. And he put it in this really crazy way. I'll put a link to it. He put it in a really interesting way about Planned Parenthood and abortion being the product. I can't remember now. I'm so mad at myself. But it's just interesting to see how unbiblical our world is today, especially this country, where we started and where we're at today. Sorry, Julie, you made me go off on a rant with your topic.
It's different.
Well, what was it? Putin said he would not allow it in his country.
Yeah.
Crazy upside down world.
Yeah.
I think I have so much trouble just focusing on me with the change, and like I guess I just live with grief brain so much that it takes all I can do to take care of me, politics and all of those things I just don't have enough time for. So I rely on Ken and know exactly what I need to know, but I just I mean, my time with God and my time doing a little bit of exercise and just to get everything else done, I don't have time to focus on it. And that I
Well,
don't
I
know.
wasn't talking about politics. I was talking about the return of the gods.
Yeah, I mean, just in general,
Yeah, no, that's biblical. Moloch and Ishtar are gods from the Bible. They
yeah.
were about
Mhm.
child sacrifice and sexual indecency.
But all that's happening right now,
Oh yeah.
every,
Oh yeah.
which is definitely in part of the political battle, I believe.
To some degree, I think you're right. Yeah. There's a lot of
Mhm.
sickness in politics in Hollywood.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think even I think I saw something was at the White House at Christmas time that there was some Baphomet figures in some of the decorations, and I'm like,
Really?
what? Yes, I'm like, oh my. Yeah,
Goodness.
I'm like, why? Yeah.
Keep praying for them all. That's all we can do.
Yep. What we're called for. We're called to pray for our government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They need a lot of prayer right now.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Yeah, they need prayer. We're having a discussion here about just some different things that are going on in the area with the expansion, like the, quick growth. And I was just thinking, to be in politics, I couldn't even imagine, just the barrage of so many different directions. But
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's important for us to be somewhat involved. If we're
you
not,
gotta be involved as far as like on that side of it, yeah. But to be to
oh, to
be the
actually be a politician.
to be a
Oh yeah.
politician.
No,
Huh.
I mean, we need more Christian politicians, like devout Christian politicians like Mike Johnson, but yeah, it's scary. I don't think I'd want to do it.
All that
Mhm.
they've got on their shoulders, all that's coming at them.
Well, especially if you're
A
not
lot.
part of the establishment.
And to stand against the establishment,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need that strength. But getting involved locally is really important, especially with what's going on with your area, Joey.
Yeah, it's crazy. I am I think I'm an oddball. I think I'm an odd man out.
Why?
Uh they are wanting to, so our beaches here are private,
Okay.
which is extremely interesting. But our beaches here are private. And a lot of it goes back long ago, supposedly, and there's different stories. So some people would probably say that's not correct. But the way I understand it is many years ago, some people had property on the beach and they were deeded to the water line,
Okay.
the wet sand. And right or wrong, it happened. And I don't know how many houses. Well, so the state of Florida said, this is your beach. The people paid taxes on it. And then all of a sudden, the county opened the beaches up and said, well, we're just going to make them public across. So they had a lawsuit. Of course, these people that said, we've paid taxes on this land all these years, we want our beach. You just can't take it away. So through the lawsuit, the state won and the people won, and so the beaches are private. Um, and they've been private since I've lived here, and that was in 2013 we moved here. Actually, before that, but I mean they've always been private. We've always seen the signs. And at first, I was like, "This is ridiculous." Like, what in the heck? And you would go and walk out on the beach, and people would come to you and say, move, like, move now off my beach. I'm going to call the cops, and they would it would just be a fiasco. And anyway, the whole time I've lived here, they've been this way. It is what it is. They've sectioned off a few, like public accesses, but the problem is these accesses. So 2014 to probably pre-COVID, it would be a row of 2 rows of people. Well, now, so supposedly the tourism and development, the TDC, they were here as they did so much advertisement that you're probably 10 rows deep from, I mean, anywhere that there's dry sand, there's people stacked up now, and they're elbow to elbow in these little public accesses because the rest of the beach is private. And then you'll have all these videos that are showing these beautiful beaches. Come to the beautiful beaches of the Emerald Coast. And it's like all you see is empty beaches. But then you arrive to this vacation that you've spent so much money for, and that you're elbow to elbow and told not to get anywhere. And then our streets. And so, so the issue is, well, we need to open these beaches. And I'm like, no, not anymore. Not now that we've gone from 9,000 to, after Michael, we probably went up to about 12 to 15,000 people. And then now we are up to 45,000 people just in this one 26-mile area alone. And we're in the fastest growing county in the state of Florida. And the crazy thing is I was like, yes, open the beaches. But on the flip side of that, there's no access out for storms. We've got just a few places, so we're going to stockpile in. That's one issue. The other issue is our streets were made for a small redneck Riviera country town that has floodlands that have now been developed and regraded and rerouted. And it's just we've got flooding issues now. Our streets are awful, and there's no safe place for me to even get out because of just the way the streets were designed. Like, we weren't made for this. I mean, literally, we went from stop signs to having like a few red lights to now our stop signs are now red lights, and it's taken an hour to get 10 minutes. And so, okay, you've got 6 parking spaces at certain beach accesses, and people are already not able to get out of their driveway. And so, okay, now let's open the beaches, y'all. Let's open the beaches where you have 45,000 living here, but you have 400,000 coming to visit. It was 400,000 a few years ago. So now we're probably up to 700,000 or 800,000 people coming to visit in this town. Now we want to open the beaches. What? Do you see what's going to happen? Chaos, because everywhere there's a space to move in, they're going to be like public beaches. We don't have enough fire. We don't have enough police. We don't have enough beach, protection to bring it in. So what's going to happen then? You're going to turn into places like these other beaches that have gone crazy with all kinds of transit traffic and homelessness and all the things that are going to come with these beaches, because I mean, we've seen it in the other areas. I mean, anyway, it happens and we've witnessed it. So I feel like the town just needs to find a way to bring in some infrastructure. You have tourism, let the 40,000 people that live here kind of benefit from the tourism and have a local access, or find ways that can accommodate both the tourists that come here, because we need the tourists and we want to welcome them, but it's so chaotic now that everybody is in this battle. So there needs to be some infrastructure built so we can accommodate and welcome and love tourists, if that, and it's a sad situation.
That is a rough situation.
Yeah. I'm behind the 8 ball.
But it's a huge topic of discussion, because so many people moved here, and they moved here expecting, that because they came in and was like, oh my gosh, this has got to be great for rentals. Well, I mean, again, you're moving to the redneck Riviera and rentals are down. Well, no, rentals are not down. Houses are up. I mean, we've doubled. I mean, hello, what do you expect is going to happen now? You move here and you're expecting that you're going to all of a sudden make money because everybody flooded in the area. It just doesn't work that way. So it's just caused a lot of riffraff and arguments.
I mean, I guess that's to be expected when a community is growing as fast as yours is.
Yeah.
That stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And it really is. It's kind of sad too, because I think it's going to affect, I mean, it's already hurting people in the community. It's causing a divide, and it's a sad thing. And I am for it. I just think there needs to be infrastructure. Definitely. Yeah. So are you seeing these issues, Sherry, in other places?
There's a lot of growth in Florida. A lot. Yeah. There's not, I mean, it's like every free space that was around, any empty lots are grabbed up and they're building on them.
Yeah.
We've got one whole area where it was all, mostly there was businesses and whatnot, but it's like we got 3 hospitals on that road now. It's like, why? It's just crazy.
Huh. And see, we have no medical.
It just makes me wonder too, the pockets are getting lined because of growth that's happening that shouldn't be happening at that pace, because you don't have the infrastructure then. You can't let it grow without the infrastructure. It's got to grow together or grow prior and be anticipated. So, yeah.
We got positions filling out Like, we don't even have, we don't have it.
Well, Alaska's having an exodus, so, including myself.
Well, if you do, move to California, did you hear that there's a tax if you move out? Seriously.
I know. Yes, I did know that, but I don't think we'll move out. I mean, we would move if God called us to, but that's not
Make
the
sure
point.
you want to move there.
Huh?
Because you'll get taxed on the way out. I said, make sure you want to move there because you'll get taxed on the way out.
So stupid. Well, eventually, I mean, I saw, it was on that video that you sent me today about Steve Harvey and Adam Schiff and the sudden swap of ballot count.
Oh yeah, that's
So in
crazy.
California, Julie, there was a Republican that was actually beating out Adam Schiff, who's Shifty Schiff, and he had like 1.7 million votes, 1.7 million ballots, and the guy that was doing the video today literally played the track of the ballot shift, and the count went whoop, and he had 900,000 ballot counts, and Shifty Shift had 1.1 million.
That happened in 2020 also.
It what?
It happened in 2020 also.
I believe it.
If you watch the videos of the counts and whatnot, it's like all of a sudden somebody would it's percentages. A lot of it is percentages too.
Yeah, but how do you have so many counted ballots and then it drops by almost 1 million? How does that happen?
Isn't that amazing how that happens? I know.
Right?
It's just amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's magical. Yeah.
So this is the place I'm moving to. I will be getting active in politics. I don't know how successful we conservatives will be there, but I will have my say.
I don't know. I'm gathering there's more and more conservatives there, so
yeah.
People are shifting.
I know. I hear, people tell me all the time I'm crazy to move back there because it's so liberal. And I'm like, yeah, but all the conservatives are leaving. I just learned that even Kirk Cameron moved to Tennessee, which I knew he was looking to leave California, but I didn't know he had. So it's like all the conservatives are leaving California, which I understand from a business perspective, because running a business there is not cheap. And I'm about to learn that. But at the same time, it's like, if they just keep bailing, that's why Tyler and I left. We didn't want to deal with politics and the expense. But now we're kind of running home because we want to get involved in politics, and to heck with the expense. We'll figure it out if it's God's plan. So, but we feel very called to go back there. So, yeah.
Yep.
For me, it's Newsom is so disgusting in his policies because he's opening up the state for children to be trafficked over for abortions. So I want to fight that man with everything I've got. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, I can appreciate that, and I can support that. And I think, and the only way, or the way that I can get it, is when I was in Tallahassee and standing there in front of everybody and just hearing people pour their hearts out, to share, to know that, okay, my situation may not change a bill. It may not, because it touches so many different things, it's in the middle of so many different other bills. But what I can do is I can go and I can stand before the senators and legislation, and I can share with them my story and say, hey, what I want you to hear is a little bit, but what I want you to really take with this is when you're listening to the bills, at where my story is going to impact many others. Like, I want you to link this together and just remember me as a mom standing here, what my life has been like. So I think there's power there.
Sure.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
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 we have to fight. We've all been quiet for way too long because, we didn't know this. It feels like everything just blew up overnight. And I know it's been happening for a long time, but it feels like it just blew up overnight. And and now, there's enough of us getting angry and wanting to fight back, and I love it. So I want to join in.
Yeah, I think it is time. And I think even if it's just like I said, even if it's one person gets it and can run and make changes, or even if it's that lawmaker that's sitting there listening to that law goes, hold on, remember that one story.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Big battle.
That's right.
Me against California. I just. All right.
Davida.
Uh-huh.
I said Davida. David. David and Goliath. Davida.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that. If God's plan is to beat them, we'll beat them.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I think it just
Gotta
makes
get
me
out there and
think.
do it.
Oh, sorry, Sherry.
Go ahead.
I think it just kind of makes me think like, there's this popularity or there's purpose, and it's like that purpose will beat them.
Yeah.
That you go in there with intention and purpose, the David way.
Put that whole armor of God on and just get in there.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Armed with my stones.
Yep. I think the followers of Christ are being called to stand up.
It does feel that way. It really does. I love it.
It's past time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
there's
many of you-
definitely a knower in people's knower. And we did a sermon, or the sermon Sunday was basically about the boldness to step out of what you're called to, with that courage versus the fear. And I mean, it's just interesting to know when okay, this is what I'm being called to do, and you can fully feel that fear. But they were just talking about how pushing through is really impactful in standing in that fearful place. So this topic is right on point of, being that voice to say, hey, this is purpose. This is standing up for purpose for somebody else.
Yeah.
Another life. This is standing up for somebody else's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if anybody watching this podcast feels called to get in the battle, let us know. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Tell us what you're fighting for. Give us something to pray for. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. We very much enjoyed this topic, and we hope that you did too. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, all those fun algorithmic things so that we can continue to grow our channel. And next week we will have Bree back, and we'll be back on to our book study. I think we're going to do a recap next week, and then we'll get back into chapter 3. But thanks for bearing with us through this. Travel kind of affected our little book study, but we're excited to get back into it. So we will see you next week, and thanks again for tuning in. Bye, everybody.